I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide. So let's roll. We'd like to welcome to the podcast today, Dr. Blake. You were like the third one I've had to read today, and I don't read well out loud. Dr. Blake Hawley, is it Hawley?
Hawley, yes.
Hawley is the founder and CEO of Motega Health, which formed as a joint venture with Shear Kirschman Laboratories, a pioneer and innovator of over 40 years in the food, pharma, and nutraceutical space. I love that word. Motega Health has developed multiple breakthrough patented sustained release technologies that enable pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, and other counter products, and is currently in a capital raise to launch a direct-to-consumer telemedicine platform focused on women's health, which we're going to talk about a lot because we have a lot of synergy there. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie.
So I'm going to ask you to give me like the background, but first, what was your first job?
My first job, well, I'm not going to count the like weekend jobs of cutting grass.
We like to count those
which I had to do, but my first real job was with a company called it was called Food Town at the time I joined. Eventually became Food Lion. Lowest food prices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. Still got that hit in my head after 40 some years.
Did you have to answer the phone like that?
No, I was a bagger.
Oh.
I was a bagger. And I actually, Jamie, this is very important to know. In my list of accolades, I was bagger of the month, my first month. So if you need groceries packed,
is that the first thing on your resume? It's like
drugs developed, foods, and bagging groceries. Yeah.
Head bagger. How has that translated to your current life at all?
I suppose both my parents worked growing up, and they really did have a very firm dedication to work, and so I've always tried to do things that were meaningful. And bagging groceries is not meaningful, but if you could brighten someone's day, that was fun.
Awesome, I love it.
Yeah.
So give us a quick run through of your background. It's a kind of a long one, but
yeah, I've been very fortunate in my career. I'm a veterinarian by training. I'm one of those people that decided very, very young what I wanted to do. Wrote an autobiography when I was in fourth grade that said I was a veterinarian. It's not a very long autobiography.
That is awesome. Was it like very specific about like how your life was going to go?
Yeah. It was an assignment this teacher had given us in English, and
that's really interesting.
Ironically, I didn't know how to spell veterinarian.
Well, I don't know how to do it either.
But I said I wanted to go to NC State University, which did not even have a vet school at the time.
Oh, wow.
So, I wish that I still had that kind of prescient ability to predict the future, but I don't. Or I would have gone into stockbroking, I guess. So I was very fortunate when I was in college. I got to try out for this thing called Operation Raleigh, which was patroned by Prince Charles. And his goal was to bring people from all over the world together in sort of a service, adventure, and science. And so I got to spend 2.5 months in the outback in Australia, traveling with an Aborigine, and we ran out of food after probably about 30 days. Wow. And so we had to hunt and fish and find our food. And it was amazing experience. I actually met with this veterinarian who taught me how to do postmortems on water buffaloes, because water buffaloes are not native to Australia. So they bring tuberculosis in. So we were checking for tuberculosis. And this veterinarian said, I did this movie. You ought to go see it when you're in Darwin. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, it's called Crocodile Dundee. It's gonna be good, I think. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he's the guy who actually anesthetized the water buffalo when Crocodile Dundee went.
Oh no!
Yeah. So I remember watching it in Darwin and all these people coming out and saying, God, I want to go to New York. I'm like, no, this is where you want to be. This is the cool place. Yeah, but that was a really good experience, Jamie, because, for a period of time, we didn't know where we were going to find our next meal.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some days where we were searching for water.
Wow.
So when you're faced with there were other people with us. In my particular group, there were 8 from 5 different countries. And, when you're faced with those kinds of challenges, it puts other things into a little bit better perspective.
Yeah, and
So
contrast.
I've held on to that all my life, but I fell in love with birds then, and so when I did graduate from veterinary school, I had a focus on birds and exotics, and I practiced for 7 years.
Wow.
Pretty much doing avian and exotic animal medicine, and did some television and radio, which was a lot of fun. I was never the Jack Hanna. I never reached that high a level, but I did do quite a bit of writing and, book chapter. And I really enjoyed that work, but I got more and more involved on the marketing side. Started to work with a bird food company.
Oh, okay.
So eventually I was training veterinarians about bird medicine, and I was an adjunct professor at UW-Madison at their vet school. And then I moved to Topeka, Kansas to work with Hill's Pet Nutrition. And at that time, I got my MBA, nights, as many people do.
Yeah, it's the only time left.
Yeah,
for those MBAs.
Yes, exactly. And after that, they shipped me off to Australia.
Oh,
so
got to go back.
In Australia, and I ran the Australia-New Zealand business there, and then moved to Europe, and I ran the Central Eastern Europe and Russia business, which was a huge challenge because 17 different countries, English was only their second language or third language in many cases. And, the market was growing very rapidly in those countries as people, more and more began to have pets or animals as pets, bringing them into their home and caring for them. Then I ran the UK and Ireland business for a number of years, moved back to the States, went to work for a pharmaceutical company out in San Francisco. And then I did some work for another pharmaceutical company down in Argentina. And
you've been all over the place.
And then decided after a little stint in a business that wasn't successful, based in Australia, that I brought over to the U.S., that maybe I should just try this on my own. And that's when I discovered Shear Kirschman and started working with them, and wanted to license out some of the products that they developed over their 40-year career, and a really amazing career that these guys have had. But I was challenged with a huge portfolio of products and a decision of how to sort of monetize these products, whether I just license them out to other companies or whether I take some of these and do something myself with them. And, as I looked at the different options, I started to look at women's health. And it's just a vastly underserved market. Right. And even today, there's huge gender bias in research. It comes for a number of reasons, but quite honestly, one of the most common ones is that pharmaceutical companies don't want to use women because of the menstruation cycle. And that confounds the data. So women are really underrepresented in research. And I mean, amazingly, they used to use thin men. and somehow that represented a child or a woman, which is, preposterous.
It's like the smaller crash test dummies that aren't like anatomically correct.
Exactly. So, as I started to talk to OBs and nurse practitioners, people involved in women's health, I learned that not only are women underserved in the pharmaceutical space, but there's also this complicating factor around particularly issues related to vaginal health and menopause, where there's shame, there's this sense that they don't want to share. Part of it, I think, relates to the fact that for most of their lives, women are net givers of energy. They give to their spouse, they give to their kids. 80% of all health decisions are made by women. And yet when it comes to their own health, and particularly perimenopause and menopause, suddenly that net giving of energy, that outflow is challenged. And they simply don't have the kind of energy to give. And so 80% of women, for example, suffer from night sweats and hot flashes. 80%. 25% seek help. So, we've got to overcome this. Yeah. And here's the amazing thing, those symptoms go on for an average of 7.4 years.
I'm not ready.
7.4 years. 9 years for Hispanic women and 10 years on average for African American women.
Which racial bias on top of gender bias.
So I was asking, I'm still learning, obviously, but I was asking these OBs, like, so why is this happening? Why are women not talking about it? And again, part of it comes from the fact that they have been always giving of themselves, giving of their energy. And for the first time in many of their lives, they need something. They need energy. And yet there are these issues that surround it. So as a woman goes through perimenopause, which can start even for some women in their 40s.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'll be 40 next month. I'm not ready. My mom goes, "Oh, you're getting close." And I'm like, "Oh, no. No.
Not ready for it.
Nope, not gonna, no. Doing everything I can to, nope.
Well, and so doing everything you can starts with educating yourself. And so part of what we want to do with our direct to consumer women's health initiative is ensure that, we give women a voice, we listen. There will be, we'll have a telemedicine platform, so there will be doctors, nurse practitioners that they can speak to. And this is an important point, and I think an important point to understand of why I believe this is going to be successful is that for women who have these issues around feeling embarrassed or feeling shame, this will be even though it won't be anonymous because your doctor will know everything about you.
Yeah, still do that.
But there's not going to be the issue of them walking into the grocery store and seeing that person, or going to a dinner party and sitting down beside their gynecologist, or going to church and this this person who's sitting beside you knows that you have pain with intercourse because of vaginal dryness, which is a complication in 38% of women with menopause. So, we want to remove those concerns. We want to remove that issue of shame. We want to give women a voice. They want to understand. So we believe that we can create that. And, the company's going to be run by women. It's going to be for women and about women. And we're going to leverage these products that we have created over a number of years, which have some special qualities. I mean, we can talk about it if you like, but some special qualities that allow it to stay within the vaginal wall. So most things that are put in the vagina want to be pushed out. That's the peristaltic waves.
It's a self-cleaning oven, like we like to say.
That's right. So with our product, it's pseudoplastic, so it kind of rides those waves.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. So what we put there stays there.
I think, kind of going back to, why women don't seek help, a lot of these things have just been normalized, right? So, yep, you're going to have night sweats, but for forever, right? Or you're going to, or you have incontinence. Yeah, that's just normal. You've had a couple babies. You're just going to pee when you jump.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that, have been normalized that really shouldn't be normal.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many like mom groups I've been in, or groups of women. They're just like, I can't go to the jump place because I pee, and I'm like, that's pelvic floor stuff. There's people who specialize in helping you fix that.
That is exactly right.
But it's taking the time, and it's a stigma around that.
That's right. And stigma. I mean, stigma is the right word.
It is.
So you look back, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, people believed that women wilted flowers when they were on their period. So, it's even today, 30% of women on their period have diarrhea associated with that period. So period associated diarrhea.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know about it. And, for young women going through that, who do they talk to?
Yeah.
Sometimes some people have great friendship, great circle of friends where they can talk about things,
or whatever.
but they're not enough. They're not enough resources for people. And so we're out to change that.
I love
we're out
it.
to change the world.
That is so awesome. And I think it's just refreshing because, I've worked in birth for, I was a birth doula for 3 years. I've been in a lot of births and I've talked to a lot of women, and there's still a lot of, conversations I see and things like that where like, the pelvic floor stuff or the incontinence or, even just going to their doctor and being like, this is a problem. And the doc's just like, it's normal.
Yeah.
Like, cause we've stopped looking for solutions for a lot of these things.
Yeah. And Western medicine is often focused on, here's the problem, here's a solution. And that solution is often pharmaceutical. Our approach is we want to look at the whole person and we want to consider how can we help this woman to feel her very best.
Right.
And that can take on many forms. It's not just about a product that we sell. In fact, in many cases, I suspect when a woman is doing a teleconsult with us, we might not have a product for her. We might have to direct her to a physician or another person who can help her with whatever particular issue she has. Yeah. So we're not there to just push our products.
Oh no.
We certainly hope
you have some solutions.
That's right. We have some solutions, but there are other things that may be going on that are going to require different level of care. But we want to help guide that decision for them.
Yeah, it's hard. And I just think of, all the women, like women with endometriosis or, things like that, where women are in pain, but because there's no solution or whatever, like we can't just keep giving them pain medication, but, and we're not believed with them when we're in pain a lot of the time, we're being dramatic.
Yeah.
So, there is a whole stigma around this. And so creating a platform where people are believed or women are believed is really the first step. And you guys are working on that right now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I kind of just want to bring it back to, so you have been in a bunch of businesses, you've run a couple now. What have been some of the biggest obstacles for you as a business owner and entrepreneur?
Yeah. So, I think about, the businesses I've run both overseas and in the US. And I think always the greatest challenge that a business faces is finding the right people. And, I'm a huge Jim Collins fan. So I'm a big believer in, getting the right people on the bus and getting the wrong people off the bus. And I think, for any person who takes over, a new business or starts their own business, oftentimes for entrepreneurs, they start business with people that they know or friends. And sometimes those people aren't appropriate for the business long-term. And those are really, really challenging, difficult decisions. And I think anyone who has any empathy, even when you have, an employee who's not performing or who, is damaging the business, if you have any empathy at all, it's still hard to take that decision. But I think also it's worse for your team, it's worse for you to not take those decisions when you have someone who is not appropriate for your business. And what I've found is when I have let people like that go, it's often relieving. There's a sense of relief for them because they knew that they weren't right for the business. They knew that they weren't happy, and that's part of why they weren't contributing in whatever way they weren't contributing. So, I think getting the right people around you is well, it's the best way to make your business grow. That's for sure. But it's also the greatest challenge I think that a business faces. And it doesn't matter whether, it's a startup or whether it's a, multinational corporation. Getting the right people on the bus is the key.
It's hard. It's hard to fire your first employee.
I I remember very well.
I will never forget.
The first person I had to fire, and the person, he was older than I was, had quite a bit of experience. But afterwards, Jamie, it was amazing that the people in the business came to me and said, "Oh, thank goodness." And they started telling me stories, and some of those stories were very disturbing, about the way this individual had behaved. I'm like, why didn't you tell me that before? Because then it would have been even easier.
Right.
But that first person I had, I was fortunate because at the time I had some resources that I could rely on to help me kind of guide me through that process. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners don't have that experience. They don't have that person there that can say, okay, here's how you need to approach it, and here's what you should do, and to guide you. So, services like what you're providing with your podcast, Abundant Beans, is really helping business owners to be more successful. So great work that you're doing.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We want business owners to just take something out of each podcast that's applicable to them and just go with it. And that's how we move forward. It's just one little step at a time, which is why my goal is always to something actionable, out of these podcasts. And thankfully I had a mentor who walked me through how to fire my first employee, and she was my only employee at the time. And she was not happy that I had let her go. But she actually ended up, I'm not quite sure where she ended up because she doesn't talk to me anymore, which is fine. Like I knew that was a possibility. But she ended up in a bigger company, and she ended up, going home, and like it helped move her forward, I think, or at least that's what I like to think happened.
I think that actually is most common.
Yeah.
And
we have to let people go so they can move forward too.
That's right. And you can't allow guilt to prevent you from having a successful business. And again, what I found, especially with larger teams, is that those people who are having behaviors that affect the business, that affects the people around them very, very strongly.
Right. You're actually kind of my third podcast in a row where we're talking about culture and firing people. But it's just, it's something we all struggle with. Small businesses, big businesses, whatever.
That's right.
And it's just so important to be slow to hire and quick to fire.
Yeah.
Or having the flexibility to put people where they actually should be. I've learned that, I really need to be asking people, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? What is fun for you? I have a tax preparer, and I'm like, what services are your favorites? And she's like, tax returns. And I'm like, done. Can handle that, but it's like, if that changes, let me know. I'm going to continue to ask you, but what's fun? Because if you're working in, what you feel like your highest and best is, or what you're really good at, you're happy to continue to do that.
And you're going to perform. And that goes with compensation too. And by compensation, I don't just mean the financial compensation, understanding what motivates people from a bonus perspective. Sometimes it's cash, sometimes it's time off. Sometimes it's recognition.
Right.
So, having those discussions, are really important. Having worked for, a really large company, a good part of my life, multi-billion-dollar global company, there are lots of things in place that allow you to, follow these sort of set of guidelines. And, the risk in that is that you can just be following those guidelines instead of actually having a real conversation, an authentic conversation where you try to understand what that person is thinking, feeling, what they want, what they need. And it really is different for different people. You can't assume that everyone wants the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you do, it's going to be a mistake because people are different. They're unique.
Yeah. And I think, once you're, and, this is literally the third conversation I've had about this in the last 3 hours, but it's really important when you're paying people correctly, then you should be adding things. Right. So there should be a baseline of proper livable wage pay, and then how do people operate? Because unless you're meeting those minimum requirements of their life or their living and their sanity around money and, their security, then what else motivates them? Is it money? Is it time? Is it whatever? So I think it's very interesting because people are like, well, I pay an above market wage. I'm like, but does that include people working 5 other jobs?
Mm-hmm.
What is that above market wage?
Right.
When can they give you the mental and physical time that your business requires or would be highest and best for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Market rate might be $15 an hour. That doesn't mean you're paying them enough to ask them to do beyond what the job description is. Right. Yeah. Very interesting conversations around that today. It's just because if you have an admin that makes $15 an hour and that's not enough for her to live on, she's not going out and trying to find you other clients. She's trying to make a living.
Yeah. And probably trying to find another job.
Right. Because you're asking more of her than you're paying her for. Right. There's a lot of older school CPAs and stuff in some of my forums, and I'm just like, but what is above market? What does that even mean?
Yeah. And it really varies depending on where you live in the US as well, or internationally. I mean, those things change.
And on title too.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're paying an admin $15 an hour and that's above market, what does it even mean?
Yeah. The first role that I took, the GM role in Australia, New Zealand, the average there is 6 weeks of holiday time.
Wow, that's
awesome. Coming from the US, where if you take 2 weeks, it's kind of like, wait, what are you doing? You slackard.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of cultural adjustment that I had to make when I was working in the different countries.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it's so funny. My mom, my stepmom, she always negotiates more vacation. That's her thing.
That's her thing. Yeah.
I mean, she's an exec, so she's just like, I want stock options and more vacation.
Yeah.
She's like, I know what to ask for. She's like, I know it's important to me. She's like, we like to travel.
Yeah. And that's great. And I mean, kudos to her for knowing what she wants. So there are people who, know they want something different, but they don't know how to articulate it, or maybe they haven't really sat down and thought about it. So again, to your point earlier, having those real conversations with people is what's going to allow you to find out what motivates them and what they need, and to ensure that for those employees you really want to keep, those ones you want to keep on the bus, that they're happy, and happiness is going to lead to productivity, and it's going to lead to a positive culture in the workforce.
That's awesome. So what have been some of the biggest successes in all the companies you've run for you?
For me personally, the biggest successes is when I find someone, bring them in, and see them go on to be promoted, outside of my geography or my business. I've been gone from that division of Colgate for 6.5, almost 7 years now. And, there are still people that I hired who are getting promoted and continuing to grow in that organization. To me, that's huge. That's far more important than, the fact that we hit our numbers, for a year or, exceeded or whatever. It's seeing people be successful. That's what's most important to me.
That's awesome.
Now that I've got my own businesses, and I used to tell people, imagine this marketing dollars were coming out of your pocket. Now, they actually are coming out of my pocket, and it's a different way of thinking for sure. But now I want to do things, Jamie, that are more than just profit driven. And that's why this women's health initiative is so important to me. It's doing things with purpose, and for a larger good than just the financial rewards. I think those will come, but they'll come because we're doing something that is right and something that is good.
Yeah, and I think if you're helping people live better lives, or more, for us, it's sustainable businesses. We want to help people create sustainable businesses through tax savings.
Yeah,
that gets them closer to their happy lives.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And that's amazing. I was speaking to an OBGYN, and she was telling me how important it is to ensure that you build trust over time through the website. And she told me this story. She said it was fine to share. She had a patient for 3 years. For 3 years. before that patient told her that she had not had sexual intercourse with her partner in over 10 years.
Holy cow.
Because of the pain that was associated with it. And again, back to that point of the, there's a shame there. There's a whole nother complication when this physiological response from menopause, which is the vaginal dryness, which then results in pain with intercourse, manifests itself in a relationship where the husband is saying, well, what, I don't excite you anymore. And, but that's not the issue, but that emotional baggage is all tied up into that. And so, because she had built trust over a 3-year period,
holy cow,
he was able to find solutions for this woman. And just a couple of weeks ago, she had this little sticky note that the woman had called and left one message, and it was success. For her, that was like such a powerful moment. Because she had done something to help this woman have a better life. I mean, truly have a better life with her spouse, obviously. So, those are the kind of successes that I'm looking for now.
That's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah, we have a client who, he just started out as a, little business, and now he's got some national contracts. And I'm just like, whoa. He's like, that, because I don't have to do my bookkeeping. Thanks, guys. Or he's just like, because I've got you behind me. Like, he's just like, thank you, because I don't know what I would have done without you, basically. Wow. And I was like, you would have been fine. Like, you would be here. He's like, yeah, but I wouldn't have the peace of mind, or like feel like I have the space or the people behind me. He's like, because it's just me. Yeah. So it's just really fun to watch our clients grow. And that's just fun for me. Other CPAs will just be like, oh, more tax returns. But I'm just like, yay, my clients are growing and they're, and I'm just like, okay, what do you need? How do we fix this? Or I'm like, whoa, hold on. We got to look at California, but he's like, okay, good. He's like, good thing I have you, because, he's like, I want to know any of this stuff. And I was like, you're not supposed to, and he has the freedom.
Let me take that off your plate so that you can focus on the things that you do best.
Yeah. And he's always had that freedom because he's always had us. So he's always just been like, I know that you're behind me, and if I give you my harebrained ideas, you'll be like, whoa. Hold on. There's things to consider here.
Beautiful. That's perfect.
So you have launching in 24 hours, right? Your the therapeutic dog treats, or dog and cat treats.
Yeah, completely different business, obviously.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, again, as a veterinarian, and I've worked in nutrition all my life, I saw a gap in the marketplace for therapeutic treats that addressed various health issues that dogs face. So just a little bit of background, 80% of all dogs over the age of 1 suffer from dental disease, some form of dental disease.
I just heard that statistic a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, what?
Well, it's actually February is National Pet Dental Health Month, so at least that's working.
Well, I was at a vet conference, so.
Okay, all right, excellent. Yeah, I know that you offer accounting services for veterinarians, which is fantastic, because we don't get business training in vet school.
No, that's what we're here for.
Unfortunately, I had. Like most students, I had one business course, which covered everything: accounting, legal, HR, finance. I mean, come on, it didn't work. So
that doesn't work.
For those veterinarians out there, you talk to Jamie. She can help you.
I can, or at least point you in the right direction.
Yeah. So dogs and cats suffer from dental disease, and look, it's not surprising because people don't brush their dog's teeth. And I'll be honest with you.
We probably did when they were puppies, but
I'll be honest with you, vets who say brush your dog's teeth probably don't brush their dog's teeth.
No, that's
it's hard.
I don't do my own bookkeeping. We're cool.
Inconvenient. So I developed a line of dental treats, but the real key is that inside the dental treat, inside the core, is a nutraceutical. So it's a product that kind of acts like a drug, but it's all natural. And it addresses things like joint health, joint problems, skin and coat issues, sensitive stomach, allergy issues, anti-aging, and weight management.
Oh, wow. It does all those things.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
amazing.
so they're different varieties.
Mm-hmm.
The product's called Duos,
Mm-hmm.
and patent pending, which is very exciting.
That's awesome.
And then each of the actives are patented or patent pending as well.
Oh, great.
But
And
they're all
so
natural, non-GMO, only 4 calories, so you can treat with guilt free.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that 4 calories because, we always overtreat, right?
Yeah, I mean, people don't think about the fact that when they give their, little dog that's, 10 pounds,
Who
a
only needs
piece of
like
tea,
150
that's
calories a
like
week.
giving a person 3 or 4 Big Macs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just overloading with calories.
Mm-hmm.
So, I tried to take all the learning that I've had and apply it to these treats. And yeah, we're very excited to be launching soon. I think by
Yay!
the time this airs, they'll be online and available for
Awesome.
sale.
Awesome. And we'll have the links in the description boxes
Yeah, super.
as
Thank
soon
you.
as they go live. We'll get those links up for you. So that's really fun. Let's see. So I actually want to go back to the Women's Health Initiative because you and I can talk about that forever.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a telehealth platform. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yep.
then what are some of the initial services?
So,
What's the plan here?
part of it depends on, so there's state to state regulations that differ. So in some cases, it might be a teleconsult, so literally over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
In other states, a Zoom style meeting or a
Mm-hmm.
Skype meeting is required.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be gathering from the clients their medical history and understanding what their issues are and their problems.
Mm-hmm.
So a big focus will be obviously on vaginal health,
Mm-hmm.
but also we want to offer free services around exercises. So we have someone who I won't mention the name yet because we haven't launched, but she is specialized in sports medicine and training.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that you may know this, but particularly for young women who go from one sport to another, say basketball to volleyball, or to softball or to soccer, those require different muscle actions. And most injuries occur when those young women go from one sport to the other because they haven't made those adjustments. So we want to make sure that we are providing their mothers or their caretakers or the young women themselves, the information they need and exercises that can help prepare their bodies for that different sport.
It's all that pelvic health stuff, that pelvic floor stuff.
And that's a perfect example. That's right. So as women age, their needs change. So as women have babies, if they choose to have babies, requires a different set of skills and exercises. So we want to provide information on that as well. But we want to be there for, again, the whole woman. So not just where we have products. Now, we're launching with 8 or 10 products, again, focused a lot on vaginal health, but we'll also branch into other areas around intimacy, but other health issues as well. And then we'll have some wellness products as well. Yeah. So you mentioned you had a couple more cups of coffee than you normally do. We actually have a product that it's kind of like a lip balm, but it also gives you caffeine. So you get a coffee boost with like a lipstick.
Because I don't have to drink a Rockstar is what you're telling me.
Exactly. And it doesn't stain your teeth like coffee or tea does. And it also has humectants in it, so it actually plumps up the lips a little bit as well. So.
Oh, that's cool. Well, and you and I think the first time we talked, we talked about the emergence of telehealth for just for topicals or for like dermatology. Like I use Curology. I love it. I just take pictures. They make recommendations. They send me my stuff. And there's like Latisse. There's different options for, more topicals.
Right.
But giving women the option to do conferences, because we're busy. Like to do just, a 30-minute conference or whatever, it just saves us so much time. but
Right.
also you're right. It's just, it takes that whole, like, I have to drive to the doctor. I have to give them my life story. I have to deal with other people. I have to check out. I have to do the whole thing, you know, like
Yeah.
I went to my PT and my chiropractor yesterday, back to back, 5 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
But of
Yeah.
course I'm driving across town because these are the best people.
Right.
Like
Right.
these are my people. So could I go closer to home? Probably, but I have to go across timber. But I'm doing it anyway because it's made such a big change in my life.
Right.
But I'm different than most other people. If something's not working, I go find the solution.
Yeah.
Because that's my priority. Because I realize that I can't give that energy.
Well,
If I'm in
you
pain
can't
or if
deliver
I'm
for your
tired.
you can't deliver for your clients if you're in pain, if you're
Mm-mm.
suffering.
Or can I be a mom or a wife
Yeah.
on top
Exactly.
of all of that? So
Exactly.
that's awesome. I'm really excited. Well, I'm really excited about this because I work with women. Most of our clients are women. I see how hard it is
Yeah.
to stay healthy. And I do know, kind of going back to the whole exercises thing, female athletes, I think have twice as many injuries as male athletes,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
I work with a pelvic floor PT, and the things she tells me, the things she knows, it makes so much sense
Mm-hmm.
looking back on why
Right.
I've been in pain since I
Right.
was, a freshman in high school.
Right. So hopefully we can help to solve some of those problems before they become really debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned topicals. We're actually we're doing a clinical trial currently on a post-procedural skincare cream.
Oh, cool.
So one that will be, if the studies come through as we anticipate,
Mm-hmm.
will be available probably by the time the podcast airs as well.
That's so
So,
important.
yeah, and then we'll have so that's post procedural. We'll use some of the same technology for a daily product as well, and some unique properties so that it doesn't wash off or
Mm-hmm.
doesn't come off until you're ready for it to come off. Most creams and lotions that people put on their faces, men and women,
Mm-hmm.
are gone once they take a shower or once they wash
Mm-hmm.
their face, or even with just perspiration if you go to
Yeah.
the gym or you're outside on a summer day.
Yeah.
Which
So this is for wound care?
there's one for wound care, but there will also be a daily,
Oh, okay.
there'll be a moisturizer with SPF as well.
Oh, wow,
So
that's really cool.
yeah, yeah.
I'm all about those. I'm all about the things. Like my husband cut his fingers off, or
Ugh,
the tips of his fingers off, and
no,
we learned all about new wound care because it's been a while. They're like, for a while it was like keep it dry, keep it blah blah blah, but now it's like keep it moist,
right,
and especially in Colorado.
yeah.
So we learned some interesting things at that time. But then somebody else was like, oh, my doctor said to keep it dry. I'm like, no, 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 you have to keep it moist.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the new wound care. So that's really cool that you guys have something that's going to be.
We've been working on another product in the wound care space around bed sores and pressure injuries.
Technology's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the incidence of diabetes, particularly in the States,
Mm-hmm.
it continues to rise, and one of the complications of diabetes are pressure wounds,
Mm-hmm.
and so managing those is very, very challenging for quadriplegics or paraplegics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those pressure injuries that come from being sitting in the wheelchair in the same position,
Mm-hmm.
because they can't feel that they need to move. That can become a very, very challenging wound, and doctors have a challenging time managing those wounds. So we're developing some solutions, and those are clinical trials that are going on as well now. So we are.
Look at you
We're
with all those
exploring.
irons in the fire. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
There's a lot of things to be solved still, and I like that yeah.
There are so many challenges, and we can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be very focused. Our focus is now on women's health, but there are a few things that we have ongoing that we're doing for various clients, and we'll continue to run the consulting side of our business, so that we can leverage some of these technologies, but allow others to take them forward in various products.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome,
And,
Blake.
and that's important, I think, for some of your listeners who are running their businesses, and they're going to be faced with challenges like, do I offer this service along with this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the answer is yes, but sometimes the answer is, let me outsource that to a partner, or maybe do a joint venture, or have a referral practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you try to do everything, you're going to end up not doing anything. And so
So
finding that
true.
right balance is really key.
We don't do payroll. And I keep saying we don't do payroll. I don't even do my own payroll.
Mm,
We outsource to a third party.
right,
We always have. And anytime it's like, anytime anybody's like, I need payroll, I'm like, great, let me give you to our third party, because that's what they do.
right,
It's not worth our time. It's not worth the hassle. It's not worth fees. Like, it's not a value add service.
right.
There's nothing there that's like, ooh, thank you so much for being my payroll person. I hate doing payroll. I'm an expert in payroll. I want nothing to do with it.
Right.
You don't have to do everything you're good at also. I think is
Exactly.
really, really good advice. We actually are in the process of cleaning up a payroll problem.
Mm.
And my mom does all of our bookkeeping, and she's working on this project. She's like, this is why we don't do payroll. I hate payroll. And I was like, see, this is why we don't do payroll. It's so much compliance and so much work
Right.
that other people have automated or have created, really good businesses around. It doesn't have to be us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I even have a colleague that I send some people to, because that's what she does. She does payroll. She excels at payroll. She loves payroll. She's got a whole process around it. She's got a whole amazing team. Great. Here's your payroll.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing with payroll is that that's the easiest way to steal money from small businesses. Is through payroll.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to misappropriate funds. And then you can have all notices sent to you, and the client never knows.
Wow.
And then they're on the hook for all those payroll taxes.
Mm.
And it's fraud on top of that, because
Right.
you're supposed to be, you're in trust of those funds for the employee. And it's just a whole disastrous mess. So I'm just like, nope, I don't touch it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to interface with our processor, which is also your processor, but beyond that, nope.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it.
So do you have a lot of clients where you encourage them to, when they bring these kinds of challenges to you, like, should I do this? Should I offer this also? Or you steer them towards,
Yeah, I always,
questions about whether they need to be doing that or not.
Yeah, anything is highest and best, right?
Yeah.
Because I like to work with people on a goal-based. I like to know what their goals are.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they come to me with something that's, not congruent with what they've told me they want, I'll back it up and be like, wait a minute, you told me that you wanted this. Has this changed? Or does this tell me how this fits it?
Right.
And if it doesn't, then, we have to, we try to make decisions, and I try to guide my clients to make decisions based on their goals, or what they value.
Right.
And generally what their goal is kind of leads us to their values, or we understand what they value. We can kind of work backwards sometimes. But for instance, like we had a client who was a chiropractor, and he had this kind of larger, partner conglomerate come and, ask if they could, I don't know, maybe he went to them, I can't remember. But he basically was giving up his business to take a salary, because running a business was hard for him. And I was like, how does this fit in with what you told me you want, though? He ended up doing it, and it ended up imploding his business.
Wow.
And he's like, I'm not going to do it. And then he ended up doing it. I was like, he didn't come back to me. But that's what we're here for. And that's why we do unlimited calls and emails. Tell us what's going on, so we can know. But it's important. It's important to have at least an advisor, which actually leads me to my last question for you. You ready?
Yes.
So from all your experience in your many ventures, what is the number one piece of advice you like to give entrepreneurs and those that want to be entrepreneurs?
So I want to talk about legal side of being an entrepreneur. So whatever business you're going in, and especially if you are taking money, investment, and bringing on investors, then ensuring that you have transparency, number one, to those investors is critical, but also having insurance. So D&O insurance, product liability insurance, workman's comp insurance, it's an area where health insurance, it's an area where entrepreneurs often think I can cut a corner here because everything's fine. My investors are great. Nothing bad's going to happen. They love what I'm doing. I got a great partner. Life throws lots of complications at entrepreneurs. I can't remember who said it, but the quote is something like, going into work in a business that you don't really enjoy is like, 1,000 cuts. Being an entrepreneur is like getting a punch in the face every 5 minutes. And, it's tough. True. It's tough, but don't cut corners on the insurance side. Don't cut corners on advisors. Find people that you can trust, that you can be honest with, people that you can outsource your accounting or your payroll to. Don't do those things that you're not good at doing. That allows you to stay focused on your business. And it's a mistake that, I've made in the past personally. So
we all have.
What I want to encourage entrepreneurs out there to think about and ensure that they are adequately covered.
I love it. It's so important. It's so important. Also, like, people go into partnerships without partnership agreements.
Yep.
And I'm like, we have to plan a divorce. I know that's not fun to talk about, but we have to, in this instance, especially because you're not physically married to these people, we have to know how it's going to happen, what's going to happen when stuff goes sideways.
Yeah.
Because that is the boundary. And that's, that's how you guys are going to work together, because you'll know what to do if stuff goes sideways.
Yep.
And it helps you work together better, right?
That's right.
It's a prenup.
The best contracts are the ones where, you get them done, you get them all fine, legally approved, and you put them in your drawer and you never have to touch them again. But if there's a problem, you pull it out of that drawer and right here it is. Here's the solution. It's laid out. It's clear. It's unambiguous. And again, it's an area where I've had the good fortune to be involved in a couple of different entrepreneurial programs, from Pipeline Entrepreneurs, which is based in the Midwest, to the Village Capital program. I've been involved with KU's MBA program, and I encourage them all to, don't cut corners on the legal side. Don't cut corners on contracts. Protect yourself, and therefore you'll protect your business. That's the way you can be successful.
Yeah. And I always tell people, like, you want a lawyer in your pocket just in case.
Exactly.
If something goes sideways, you need somebody who already knows you and is in your corner.
Yes.
And also is somebody you've already asked questions of.
Right.
It's so important
to protect you and your business. That's right.
Yeah. It's just so important. I was like, I always don't start stuff, but also do what they tell you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. They're there for a reason.
Don't take their advice and go try to do it yourself, because that's going to go sideways, and then we have to unravel it all.
Exactly.
And it's going to cost you more in the long run.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Blake. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.